in the films, we have heard that we use only 10% of our brain. Is that really true?
Some of the young kids nowadays I'm seeing, their scan when I see, the neck is already bending forward. You may not find an erect man in the 100 years to come. More you tickle your brain, more active you'll be.
Brain also produces a lot of electricity inside for its functioning. So some say that if you connect that electricity to the light bulb, a 20 watts light bulb will actually glow.
Every 15 minutes, you have to get up, walk for 15 seconds, sit again. It's called as offloading your body weight.
When your head hurts, you blame the screen. When your neck hurts, you blame the pillow. And when your back hurts, you blame the chair. But what if the nervous system was quietly trying to say you something? We have two brainy men here, Dr. Satish and Dr. Dheeraj, and I would like to know more from you. Could you please introduce yourselves?
I'm Dr. Satish Rudrappa. I'm Group Director and Head of the Department of Neurosciences at Aster Whitefield.
I'm Dr. Dheeraj Masapu. I'm a Senior Consultant and Chief of Neuroanesthesiology in Aster Whitefield Hospital.
Thank you, doctors, for coming and sharing your knowledge. We'll start with the first question with the basics. Okay, so in the films, we have heard that we use only 10% of our brain. Is that really true?
You know, brain is such a beautiful organ. More you use it, more you get it out of it. It's completely a net. Actually, there are billions of neurons, and each neurons are connected so beautifully in the brain that you cannot quantify how much brain we are utilizing, to be frank. And it also depends on your education status, what are the things you want to do, what is the purpose of life you have, and how you physically active. These are things will determine how much part of the brain you utilize. In fact, in children, especially growing children, it's almost about 80 to 90% of brain will be continuously active without even child realizing that it's inactive. Whereas as we grow older, we become physically debilitated and we want to do things what we like rather than adding extra information. Then automatically, like in any old car, if you don't utilize it, there are some things you should not run. Same way the brain doesn't run. So it is significantly a myth saying that we use only 10%, 5%, 3%. But on an average, unless you would run about 30 to 30% of the neurons running, you'll never be conscious and looking at the things surrounding which are relevant to you or irrelevant.
Okay, so that's one myth busted. We move on to the next question. Can your brain actually mess with your mood, doctor? Say digestion, sleep, work performance, or is it something that we're just cooking up in our minds?
No, there is usually a relationship between your mood, your brain and gut. That is called as a brain-gut axis. In a simple terms, how I can tell is if you're stressed out, or if you're thinking about too many things, if you're multitasking, or if you're not sleeping well. So what happens is that stress will build up in your brain. Since there is a brain-gut axis, your digestion also will get affected. So there are studies which are showing that even in the gut, the microbiomes will be there. They'll be releasing certain kind of chemicals called as serotonin, which is a similar chemical which is produced in your brain too. So what they say is brain-gut axis is very important. If brain actually is under pressure, the gut also will develop something called irritable bowel syndrome. That is one of the reasons why many people, now we're looking at many, this millennial generation, new generation people are having irritable bowel disease. So one of the reasons is stress actually. So it is not about them eating the spicy food or something like that. It is also about the stress that they're taking. The stress of the pressure of proving themselves, the pressure of some kind of targets or something would be there. So that will also put indirect effect on the gut. Mood is more of an individual perspective. If you're really enjoying what you're doing, so even if you're pressurized also, so you will be in a good mood. So that is one of the other way of looking at it. So, but surely there is a link between brain to all the organs in your body, including heart, including your gut, including your muscles, bones, including your hair. So everything is controlled by the central organ, which is your brain.
As you mentioned, brain is a supreme organ. All the chemicals which produces within the brain, there are two varieties. One is neurotransmitter we call, which makes you to think, to act, to be looking at the surroundings, your intelligence and everything. The another one is called a gland, hypothalamus pituitary axis we call, which produces the hormones to us. See, which I am talking in two different ways. One is a neurotransmitter, which it completely determines your intellect and mood. The another one is pituitary hypothalamic axis, which produces a hormone which controls the rest of your body, whether it's a thyroid, whether it's a pancreas, whether it's a gut, whether your growth, whether your thyroid, everything is controlled by it. So in that way, the brain has a supreme organ where the whole your body is controlled. So that's why we say, that life is, how you control your brain, so is your body. It is not other way around. The body you control, the mind will grow. No, how you are. That's why we say, positive vibe, positive mood, positive thinking is purely because these are the chemical which makes rest of the body to work towards it rather than against it. And that way, somebody is in a bad mood, you're in a great mood, your smile is very good today. Unlike, I'm too tired after a long surgery, but I'm still in the maintaining because I have a method where I can control my body with respect to my mind. So in that way, keep your mind completely healthy, the brain health, more so as we mentioned, including the sleep pattern. 90% of the neurotransmitters and the hormones are secreted in the early morning. And rest of the time of the sleep, it recirculates, takes away the bad things which you have done on the previous night, and it replenishes itself. But unfortunately, the present day, you find sleep-wake cycle are reversing, and I find every youngster is more restless than even a person who's worked harder.
Doctors, you both talked about lifestyle and stress and the current generation facing the burnt of it, right? So my next question is basically, if you could expand on that, how much does lifestyle really impact brain and spine? So I'm talking about long screen time and bad postures and all that. If you could throw some light on that.
Coming to the screen time, basically what they say is the screen produces something called as a blue light. So this blue light has certain kind of effects on your brain. So mainly it can affect the chemical called as melatonin, which is produced in your body, which is main control of the circadian rhythm of the body. Circadian rhythm means how you actually sleep, when you should get up. Everything is actually predetermined by a rhythm in your body. So this particular melatonin is affected by the blue light, which we usually sleep. Particularly if you're seeing a lot of screen before sleep, it can directly affect your sleep. So screen time is not very good. But at the same time, if you're using the screen for some productive work, like if an engineer is coding in the screen, or if somebody is making editing a video or something in the screen, so that you're using for a productive activity actually. But try to avoid it before sleep. But rest of the time, if you're using for productive work, I think screen time is must. But unnecessarily for enjoyment purpose or just watching some Instagram shots or some kind of recreational activities if you're doing, then you have to cut down the screen time according to.
Dr. Dheeraj just talked about screen time. Doctor, if you could tell us about bad posture.
See, the posture is nothing but whenever a human being stands with his 2 feet grounded, there should be zero energy wasted by him to stand erect against the gravity. For that, in a common man term, we say when you draw a line on the top of your head, should match the shoulder when you sit, and to the ball of the hip, and when you stand to the ankle. It should not fall towards the toe. That means you're chasing your own gravity. So to maintain this posture, in humans we don't have much muscle from the face down to the abdomen in the front, bulky muscle I mean to say. We have bulky muscle on the back. So unless you build this muscle erect with exercise every day, you will adapt a bad posture. That's why many people sink as we grow older, because the muscle will not be holding the spine, and in fact no load goes on the spine. It goes on the muscle and ligaments. And as we grow older, muscle mass reduces if you don't exercise. You bend forward, and more so if you sit. And with the present day generation of sitting on a desk hours together watching the computer or the mobile, you are falling almost forward. So that is the whole human posture is changing. In fact, some of the young kids nowadays I'm seeing, their scan when I see, the neck is already bending forward. I don't know in 100 years, how human posture, you may not find an erect man in the 100 years to come if the computer generation goes forward in the future. So as of now, we had to maintain zero energy. For that, you have to build the back muscle to have a good posture.
I'm so glad that you mentioned exercise. We keep talking about 12-pack abs and going to the gym and a core strength and all this. What can we do for our spine? Like, one is sitting straight, but what else can we do?
Muscles which are required, as I told you, to the gravity is the back muscles. The back muscle, to keep the neck erect, we call what is called trapezius muscle, right? In the gym, bar pulling we do, is the best exercise for the upper, to keep the neck backward. to keep the thorax and between the shoulder blades, many people get the pain. It's to keep that, we use the same bar forward and open close method, which we use in the gym. Or we do push-ups. Or we do Bhujangasana, Ardha Bhujangasana, Shalabhasana, Dhanurasana, for the back muscles. So, not that abdominal muscle has a great value. Abdominal muscle has a great value provided your back muscles are much more stiffer. So, to keep the erect posture, the back muscles are much more important than the abdominal muscles. The best exercises for Indian, genetically for us, is the Indian yogas, where in addition to the muscle, it stretches the ligaments, joints. So, joints and ligaments are also equally should be healthy to keep the muscle. With our Indian food habits, where we are not highly proteinaceous food we take mainly of the carbs. So, and we don't eat red meat so much. So, in that way, we burn our energy too much when you do the gym exercises, because those are meant for the people who eat hardcore red meat. That's why in the Western culture, he is going to the gym. Or you want to be bulky. For the day-to-day activity for human beings, the Indian yogas are best described for us. I think there is nothing equal to that.
Definitely one with busted because I always thought that push-ups are for chest, but I'm glad to know that it's also for your spine. Moving on, there's something I would like to know. Doctor, tell us what is something that has changed in the last 5-10 years in neurocare, which you think it's very fascinating, very cool.
Since I spent a lot of time in the operating rooms during the brain surgeries, so one thing which changed in the last decade is how we monitor the brain function during the brain surgeries. So basically we are concerned with some vital, or we call it eloquent areas, which control different functions of the human body, like the way we talk or the way we move our limbs, and even memory and other areas. So they were not monitored in 10 years back when they were operating. But now in the last decade, there has been a significant leap in how we actually monitor these vital structures by using technologies called as evoked potential monitoring, and different kind of neuro gadgets have come, and that has significantly increased the safety of neurosurgery.
The real game changer is the invent of the MRI. So the MRI can, to differentiate different parts of the brain, and within the brain from the gray matter to white matter. And also we use nowadays for functional MRIs, where, for example, if I'm moving only the thumb continuously, I know which part of the brain will light up. If there is any problem related to this, that will not light up, which can be monitored before even we take the patient for either for surgery or investigation. We can monitor when he's moving. I can continuously monitor. And the beauty of the brain is every part of the brain is given for certain purpose. That's what I keep telling everybody, that your brain is such a beautiful organ. The nature has created. Utilize it to the maximum, because every part has its own function. Whether you smile or you show your anger, or you speak with this, empathy, or speak with the harshness, we can make out which part of the brain is dominant for you. So if more you smile, towards me, I know which part of the brain is working, which is very much be predicted in MRI machine itself. So is, in a surgical, beauty happened is when I was doing the neurosurgery residency program, literally we used to open and grope around what exactly I have to do. Now, I can go precisely to that part of the brain, precisely take out the tumor using what is called neuronavigation technique. The navigation means how like a Google map, I put the patient's MRI before entering, and I know this is the area to go. The machine will show this is the area you have to start, this is the area, this depth you have to go, this is where you have to complete. So is use of the ultrasound, which will give live pictures to me. If I remove the tumor, half, it will show you've done bad job. You go this direction, you can remove completely, and at the end, it will show completely. So the neuro gadgets which are available for functioning and neuroanesthesia also made enormous difference to us. 20 years ago, we used to use the regular anesthesia, which is used for hernia surgery, where a brain used to come up like a atta you mix with dosa to come up. How? It used to come up and we couldn't do the surgery. Today, the anesthetists are there, and the neuroanesthesia, you give it, the brain remains calm, and the tissue dissection becomes very easy. So, neuroanesthesia, neuronavigation, MRI technique made enormous difference to us. That's what we enjoy in Aster Whitefield. We have every equipment which makes, as a surgeon, happy. Imagine what all things can happen to the patient.
Time for a quick round. Short answers only. You're not allowed to think. Speak the first thing that comes to your mind, okay? What's the worst thing people do to their spine daily?
Sitting longer than standing and walking. Sitting puts the maximum pressure load on the spine. So in the longer run, they're worse with your back and they'll have more problem. Every 15 minutes, you have to get up, walk for 15 seconds, sit again. It's called as offloading your body weight.
So my second question is favorite brain fact that very few people would know.
So one fact is that brain also produces a lot of electricity inside for its functioning. So some say that if you connect that electricity to the light bulb, a 20 watts light bulb will actually glow. So that is a kind of energy that is produced in the brain.
Yeah. So would you say something?
More you tickle your brain, more active you'll be. More you utilize your brain, and you can utilize both part of the brain actually. For example, if you're a singer, you'll be utilizing your right part of the brain more. If you're a singer and instrument player, you'll use both parts of the brain. So one is for the where you recite things. Another one, you have to have a fine motor movement. So you use both the things. So utilizing the both parts of the brain is which we have to learn from childhood. More the actions you do, more the activities you do, more active in the society, both brains you'll be using very well.
Okay, so I have one brain myth and I don't know how much of it is true. They say that women have one part of the brain which is more developed or active and men have another part. Is that true?
It is completely a myth. I'm a neurosurgeon. I open an average one brain a day for the last 35 years. I never found any difference between the male and female, any religion, any caste, any creed.
Thank you so much, doctors, for joining us and for this really, really insightful discussion. I know a lot of myths were busted here. I hope people would learn so much more, and we continue doing this so that we can enlighten and pass on your wisdom to our audiences.
Thank you
so
for
much.
inviting us.
Thank you so
very
much.
Thank you.